This is Bad Boys Pilipinas. Hello mga kalaro, Chief Bisdak Joel Parcon here with my first video looking at different options for the Pistons to consider with their 5th overall draft pick in the 2022 NBA Draft. For this video, I'm going to focus on the player who is probably on top of the priority lists that several Pistons fans want, even if Detroit had ended up with a higher pick. Purdue guard Jaden Ivey. First, let's get some general information out of the way. Ivey is a sophomore guard from Purdue. Standing 6 feet 4 inches and weighing 195 pounds, the 20-year-old guard with a 6'8 wingspan was the man for the Purdue Boilermakers in the Big Ten Conference in U.S. college hoops. He was a consensus second-team All-American and first-team All-Big Ten player in 2022 and represented the U.S. in the FIBA Under-19 World Cup, where he got a gold medal playing alongside the player a lot of draft boards have on top, Chet Holmgren. During his freshman year, he averaged 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and less than a steal and a block, hitting 40% of his field goals, 26% from beyond the arc, and 73% from the line on 24 minutes per game. But it was actually during his sophomore year that he made strides as he upped almost all of his numbers, averaging 17 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, almost 1 steal on 46% field goal shooting, 35% three-point shooting, and 74% free throw shooting at 31 minutes per game. Not a drastic jump, but an improvement nonetheless. Now, going to his strengths. The most obvious one is his speed, athleticism, and explosiveness. I don't want to count those 3 separately because they go hand in hand in defining Ivey's game. He can get past defenders in the college game pretty easily using his speed, and he is especially fun to watch in the open court. His athleticism allows him to adjust in mid-air, doing double clutches, up and unders, yes, in the air, up and unders in the air, and other hang-time moves that make him a tantalizing talent to watch. His explosiveness in getting to the basket and throwing it down adds even more oomph to his whole package. This is only made better with his ability to finish at or around the basket. Because of his skill set, he is able to make different kinds of shots near the rim. He's even able to take contact in trying to make a good shot. And Ivey isn't shy about wanting to get to the rim. His aggressiveness at handling the ball, trying to break down his defender, and attempting a shot near the basket makes him a fun and exciting prospect. Not to say that his strengths are limited to scoring though, as Ivey has also displayed an above-average vision. He has a knack of knowing where his teammates are on the court and can get them the ball most of the time, usually after drawing several defenders to himself, leaving his teammates wide open for perimeter shots or dunks and layups. Lastly, and I think this is probably one of the more important things that Troy Weaver and Dwayne Casey will look at, is that Ivey is coachable. His mom being a coach and former player herself, coupled with Jaden essentially growing up around the game, has made him conducive to being coached. Matt Painter, Ivey's coach at Purdue, even said that it was easy to teach Jaden because of his passion for the game, which fueled his desire to be the best that he can be. Now, before we go all out and call Jaden Ivey the GOAT, he does have some areas for improvement. First up is his mid-range shot. This is going to be important, especially when he runs into tougher interior defensive systems and shot blockers in the NBA. While analytics might think that the mid-range game is the worst thing in basketball these days, it still serves a great purpose. Look at the Devin Bookers, the Luka Doncic's, and other young guns making names for themselves nowadays. The middle game is still very much important, and Jaden's mid-range game isn't as polished just yet. Moving further out, another area for improvement would be his perimeter shot. While he did improve 10 percentage points from his freshman to sophomore year, from the videos I've seen and from people who have evaluated his shot, his mechanics seem a little slow. Again, defenses in the NBA will be tougher and will go after his shot faster. He'll need to work on his release speed. He doesn't have to have Steph Curry or Klay Thompson release speed, but it can't be as slow as he's been shooting them at the college level. Speaking of defense in the NBA, Ivy's defensive stats weren't that impressive. While stats don't always cover everything that happens on the court, him not averaging at least one steal in both his years at Purdue tells me that he might be a sometimes defender. It was heavily stated that he can be good on defense at times, especially when he's engaged. And I did see some of those clips. He was engaged, and whenever he's engaged, he is a very good interceptor. He can intercept passes. But if he's going to be an asset and one of the core players of the Pistons' future, he's gonna have to be more consistent on defense. And if he wants this bad boys Pistons fan to buy into his game, he's gonna have to be gritty about it. If you think about it, the fact that he's that athletic gives him the tools to be good, if not great, on defense. Maybe what stops him from being consistent is the fact that when he does become aggressive on defense, he tends to make poor decisions and ends up fouling his opponents. That's another thing he needs to work on, being aggressive without overdoing it. And this isn't limited to defense. On offense, at times, he found himself trying to do too much. And because he wanted to do too much, his decision-making became impaired. At times, he found himself jumping up as if wanting to go for the shot after breaking down his man, but not knowing what to do with the ball in the end. He needs to improve on all of these areas. Now, on his fit with the Pistons, he could be a good backcourt mate for Cade Cunningham. Of course, that means we no longer have to depend on, who else? Corey Joseph, who, while he is a stable veteran leader of sorts, just shouldn't be playing too many minutes, nor should he be running the team. That should be Cade's job. While Cade is calm and collected, Ivy is a firecracker ready to explode to the basket at any given moment. In fact, I've seen several posts that actually equate him to our current athletic wing guy, Hamidou Diallo. And I see the comparisons. I would just have to say that Ivy has developed his outside shot better. He also has better vision and handles. Utility Sports, which was one of the YouTube channels I checked out to scout on, to research on Ivy, actually has him as a better finisher than Hami because of his footwork. Now, my only concern is how well he can play off the ball. Heading into the next season, the ball should and will probably be in Cade's hands for the most part, with Jeremy Grant and Sadiq Bey also getting touches. Given that right now I think Ivy's game seems to be predicated on creating his own shot, going to the basket, one has to question if he will be as effective playing off the ball for most of the game. Also, another thing to consider is if we take him, what does that mean for Killian Hayes? I, for one, am still an advocate for Hayes, as I do see him having the potential for being a lockdown guard with above-average facilitating skills. Does this also mean Hami becomes expendable? These are questions that the Pistons will have to ponder if they do decide to draft Ivy at the 5th spot. Again, my prevailing draft philosophy is to draft the best talent available, and if Ivy is that guy, I would lobby for the team to pick him up. Outside of basketball, some things to consider would be how Ivy was raised by his mother, former basketball player and current Notre Dame head coach Niele Ivey. Like I had mentioned, as part of Jaden's strengths, he grew up around the game. During, or maybe right before his mother's rookie season in the WNBA, she was pregnant with Jaden. And so it meant that Ivy was a little baby who would often go with his mom on road games. One interesting note is that Niele played for the Detroit Shock, albeit for only 12 games in her last season in the league in 2005. And then, when Jaden was a little older, he was always at Notre Dame practices and even played one-on-one with current WNBA superstar Skylar Diggins. Another interesting note is that Jaden's dad is actually from Detroit. While Jaden considers Indiana home, he has ties to Detroit. Take that how you will. I like to believe that we have another possible Devin Booker or Kyle Kuzma in the making. As far as NBA comparisons are concerned, a lot of people really liken him to Ja Morant. They have the same explosive game at the rim with a developing outside shot. Now, Ja was a more accomplished passer in college, but then again, Jaden plays the two guard spot. I compare him more to our very own Hamidou Diallo, but with a better outside shot and better court vision. Now, this being a Filipino channel, we're not bad boys Filipinas for nothing. I have to compare him to PBA players as well, and I have two. The first is CJ Perez. No, it's not about the hairdo, but really their games are similar if you think about it. Yes, the game is slower here in the PBA, but their skill sets are pretty much the same. Both can blow by most defenders, are fun to watch in the open court, and are still developing their outside shot. Going back a little further in time, I would also liken his game to my all-time favorite PBA player, Samboy the Skywalker Lim. While Samboy did not have the speed that Ivy does, who from their era did, it's most likely the athleticism and finishing talent that makes me think their games are comparable. One of my fondest Samboy memories was him going for a layup against Alex Araneta, the big man of Alaska at that time. Samboy seemed to be suspended in midair, pumping the ball above his head while waiting for Araneta to go back down to earth before he made the layup. Ivy's athleticism and ability to adjust his shot in midair despite the contact is reminiscent of that for me. Now, thinking in terms of priority, since this is my first evaluation video, drafting Jaden Ivey sits on top of that priority list. I have a strong feeling that it is going to stay that way, but it might still change as I get to research on the other prospects that might be available at our position, or maybe if I take a look at other options that the team can take with our pick. Anyway, this has been another episode of Bad Boys Pilipinas. What do you think of Jaden Ivey? Is he the right backcourt mate for Cade Cunningham? Are we finally going to break free from the stranglehold of Corey Joseph on the other starting guard spot? Is Coach Casey willing to do that? We will find out this June. And until then, I will regularly put out videos of my ideas about the different options for the Pistons with their fifth pick. The NBA draft is on June 23, 2022. That's June 24 here in the Philippines at the Barclays Center. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Also consider subscribing to the channel and clicking on the bell icon so you get notified every time we have new uploads. This channel has other shows as well, and you might want to check them out. As always, this has been Chief Bisdak Joel Parcon. Until next time, stay safe. Bye.
This is Bad Boys Pilipinas.